She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Today on the Dani Johnson Show, join us live from San Diego, California at First Steps to Success, the Spiritual Equipping Night.
How many of you really want to win in 2018? And how many of you do not want to win the way you did in 2017? How many of you need a fresh, clean slate? How many of you have ever worked hard and have continued to hit your head up against a wall? And how many of you thought, well, if I work a little harder hitting that wall, then maybe the wall might move, right? And is it possible that there are some things that you're doing in your life that you don't even realize are actually hurting your life? Have you ever had an aha moment where you went, oh, that's why that keeps happening? Have you ever had one of those moments? Tonight, perhaps, is a night where you might discover there are two things that maybe you've been doing that you didn't even realize are having a massive impact all over your life. Now, friend, you and I had a discussion earlier today at First Steps to Success. We had a discussion about prospering where you're planted and the law of promotion. The law of promotion is what? Faithful with the little, and you be made ruler over much, much more, right? So we're talking about, okay, am I ready for a promotion? Well, how do I know? Am I being faithful with the little, right? So it's the same with this. It's the same with raising kids. How many of you have kids? Awesome. How many have more than one? 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 13. How many? 11 kids, okay? This lady, is that your husband? Yeah, so this couple has 11 children, okay? Wow, they take the cake. Wait, how many? Oh, sorry, there's 15 kids right there. We have 15 kids right there. We have how many kids right here? 11 kids. We've got 2 sets of 11 children, 1 set of 15, okay? And I know the woman with the 15, they all came out of her body. And she has some of them here with her, okay? She's just starting her own colony, right out of her uterus, okay? Right out of her own uterus, she's just building her own nation. Her and her husband both. It's amazing. Okay, so listen up. So if you've got kids, okay, now let me ask you a question. How many of you would not give your 5-year-old the keys to your car? And why would you not give the keys to your car to your 5-year-old? But wait, he wants to drive. He wants to drive. He has a little play toy that he drives. Brrr. He has little Hot Wheels. Brrr. Mommy, I'm being a race car driver. Okay? Whenever you're driving, he's in the back seat. Pretend he's driving. Right? So you're a parent, you want to fulfill the dream, right? You want to help, like you want to, right? You want to raise him up to go after this dream, right? So why not give him the keys to the car? She says because he's not ready for it. Why is he not ready to drive the car? He doesn't have the skill. He is not equipped. Insurance. Hello, McFly. Okay. So the law of promotion is all about that. Your son is not ready. He doesn't have the skill. He's not yet been trusted with the little responsibilities first before he can take on the bigger responsibility of driving. Now, how many of you have it in your heart that you want to lead a good number of people? And is there anybody here that really wants to leave a good legacy? That you want to make a mark in the world? That you do not want your life to be about this, like most people. The day they were born, the day they died, separated by a dash. Not much happened in between the day they were born and the day that they died. There's really not a whole lot to talk about. If anything, I can tell you that from on my Nicaraguan side of my family, my father's father, no one ever talks about. So when I went down to Nicaragua and I got to know a bunch of my aunts and my uncles and my cousins and all this, it was very interesting. Everyone always spoke so highly of my grandmother, who I unfortunately did not get the chance to meet. My sister carries my grandmother's name, and everyone talked so highly about her. But when you bring up my grandfather, Domingo, no one wants to talk about him. Why? His legacy was he cheated nonstop. He had 5 different families. He was abusive to my father. So that's all I know about my grandfather is he was abusive and a womanizer. That's it. But my grandmother was a saint. So he has a legacy, and so does my grandmother. Do you understand? So what legacy do you want to leave? Because your children are watching, your coworkers are watching, your community is watching. Everybody can see what it is that you're doing, whether you realize it or not. You are setting an example, and you're going to leave some kind of a legacy. Whether the legacy is a dash in between the day you were born and the day you died, or the legacy is it my grandfather's? Is it my grandmother's? Is it Walt Disney's legacy? What kind of a legacy do you want to leave behind for everybody else that is around you? So that after you're gone, you're still being talked about. Kind of like King David. He's been dead for 3,000 years. We still talk about King David. Jesus hasn't yet physically walked back on the planet for 2,000 years. He's still being talked about. Moses hasn't walked the planet for 4,000 years. He's still being talked about. So what will be said of you? How many of you have a dream? And how many of you want to go after it with everything you got? Then I will tell you that if you want to leave a legacy and you've got a dream and you are in any kind of a leadership role, whether you are the two twins that are sitting over here that know that they are in a leadership role because they've got other littles that are following them, and there might be some other biggies that are also looking at them, they are in some kind of a leadership role. Every person in this place has influence. How will we use that influence? More importantly, how will we use our influence in the little places? How will we use our influence in the little places? Let's turn to Daniel, somewhere in the middle of your book. If you have the best success book ever written, pull it out, dust it off, and open to Daniel. Daniel in Hebrew, actually. And guess what I didn't bring? I can see right there. Strange things happen to your body as you grow up. So Daniel chapter 4. And we're going to start at verse 8. Verse 8. And we're going to find a leader who is a business leader, who is a politician. He's actually also a military leader. He was called a king of kings in the Bible. Actually, God himself called him a king of kings. His name was King Nebuchadnezzar. That's a fun one to say. King Nebuchadnezzar. And right here in chapter 8, we see that this particular king has a dream. He doesn't like this dream. It's a pretty nasty dream. Have you ever had a bad dream before? Have you ever had a bad dream that kept you up for several nights, toiling over it? You felt like something jumped on you in this dream and you can't get this thing off. Have you ever had that before? Okay. And so that's exactly what happened to this king. I mean, he just won a ton of battles. He just went in and took Israel out of their land of Israel and brought them to Babylon, okay, which Babylon is today what? It's Iraq, okay? So they took them from Israel, this tiny little country, okay, that God had given them, and took them out of there into captivity into Babylon. And why were they taken into Babylon? Because the Israelites forgot their identity. They forgot who they were. They lost their vision, and they tried to be like everybody else. They tried to worship everybody else's gods. They tried to chase things that everybody else was chasing, that was their neighbors, and they forgot their own identity of who they were. They forgot the promise that was on them, and they completely forsook their relationship with their God and ran directly in the opposite direction. And they began to serve other gods like Baal, which is the god of greed, multiplication, prosperity, the same gods that are served in churches every single Sunday right now, all over the world, okay? The god of money, mammon, okay? We reproduce, what do they call that? Fertility goddess. Ashtoreth, Astora, Esther, Easter. It's where we get the name Easter. It's actually the worship of a goddess whose name is Estar, which is Easter, Easter Sunday. Yes, that's that same goddess that's still being worshiped today. They worshiped her with eggs because she was a fertility goddess. Yes, eggs and bunnies because she's a fertility goddess. So they had lots of bunnies and eggs. And we are doing this still to this day, and they're doing it actually at churches today. So it's the same exact thing that happened where we see why they were taken into captivity is because God said, you are coming into my temple thinking you're safe, but I just saw you worshiping Ashtoreth and Baal. So you're worshiping these false gods and you're trying to come to me. I'm so sorry. I am a jealous God. I'm a jealous husband. You will not serve me and all those other fertility gods. You have to forsake the bunnies and the eggs. I hope I'm making myself loud and clear because Passover's on its way. Forsake the bunny and the eggs. You don't serve the fertility goddess and me at the same time, okay? It's crystal clear in Jeremiah, crystal clear in Ezekiel, crystal clear in the book of Isaiah, okay? This is all that time of why they were taken into captivity, because again, they lost their identity, because again, they forgot who they were. They began to serve other lovers, is exactly what Ezekiel writes. They served other lovers. They gave themselves over to whoring to all these other gods that were all around. So because of that, they were spanked. They were brought into captivity. Because of that, they were put in time out for 70 years. 70 years of time out. How many of you could not handle 70 years of time out? Okay, they had 70 years of time out. Their nose was in the corner. So King Nebuchadnezzar is the one that God sent to go take them from Israel, bring them to the land. A prophet came to tell them 70 years is when you're going to be here, okay? So what do we see? They were prospering greatly, and in their prosperity, they forgot who prospered them. It's very similar to our nation today. So let's go ahead and read. So he has a dream. The dream is bugging him, okay? And it says, and at last, Daniel, whose name is Belteshazzar, according to the name my Elah, came before me. This is Nebuchadnezzar talking. In him is the spirit of the set apart Elah. Okay, now by the way, I'm reading from it's called the Scriptures from the Institute for Scripture Research. It keeps all the Hebrew names intact, meaning so they didn't take the Hebrew names and give them American names. Do you understand? Like Moses is actually Moshe. Okay, Jeremiah is Yermahu, Yeshua. So every name in here is a Hebrew name or it's a Babylonian name in the case of Nebuchadnezzar. So it kept it the same, so I'm just reading along with that. And every time it talks about God, it gives God's actual name. Okay, so Belteshazzar, chief of the musicians, first of all, I just have to stop right here. So the king knows, the king doesn't serve the Most High God. The king serves all these other gods. In fact, he even made an image of himself and told everyone to worship it. Okay, so the king knows that the spirit of the Most High God is in Daniel. That's his reputation. The reputation of Daniel is that the spirit of the living God is inside of Daniel. What reputation do you have? What reputation do you have? Because to this king, which by the way, Daniel, by the way, didn't know he was a prophet. No one called him a prophet till after he's dead. He was a political advisor. That's what he was. He was a government official. His job was actually to manage those that practiced witchcraft. That was his job, is to manage people that practice witchcraft. Now, could you imagine if he lived today and went to church on a Sunday and his job was managing those who practice witchcraft? He'd be outcasted. People would tell him he was going to hell. People would tell him he's not serving God. You need to pray about leaving your job and go serve the Lord. That's what modern day Christianity would be telling him. Thank God that there was no modern day Christianity, because he was picked because he was the best at what he did. And the king himself, the president of the nation, the CEO of the business, knew there was something special about him and knew that the spirit of the living God dwelled in him. So what I want to know is, what does your boss know about you? What does your clients know about you? What is your reputation in the home, outside of the home? What's your reputation at the grocery store? What's your reputation wherever it is that you go? Is it known that you serve the Most High God? It's a good question. When I asked myself that question, I didn't like the answer, because I asked myself that same question. Thank you. I asked myself that same question, and I have to be honest with you. Even though I teach communication skills and leadership skills, I recently have flunked in this one right here. And I mean, I have flunked. Faithful with the little things. So when I saw that passage, I just went, Lord, what is my reputation? Because it's been my desire that would be known. I want it to be known that your spirit dwells in me. I want that. I want it to be that my reputation is completely in alignment with yours. Yeah. So what's my reputation? And right away, he highlighted 2 phone calls that I had just had 2 days before with customer service people. So what was my reputation with these two people that I was in an email battle with? It's a witch with a capital B. It was. It's not cool. And this is what he showed me. It's in the little places where people don't see it. It's in the little places that the crowd doesn't see it. Because backstage, I know how to honor everybody. And front stage, I know how to honor everybody. But it's in those other places where someone doesn't know me. It's in those places that my reputation would certainly not be, man, she carries the Spirit of the Most High God in her. No, that woman's a demon. Would be more like it. What a witch. Pompous witch. Throwing her weight around. It's heartbreaking to learn that about myself. It's in the little things. And it's in the little places where our reputation is birthed. We all want to get to the big stage. But how I ever even got to this stage was by honoring the little places. But somehow, somewhere, I started to stray away from that. Because when you become successful, everybody treats you different. And then pretty soon you get entitled to being treated different. Pretty soon you start to accept the different kind of treatment you get. And pretty soon it just becomes normal to be stopped in grocery stores, to be stalked by people. It becomes kind of normal to be stopped in airports and in hotels. It just becomes normal to fly to a foreign country and somebody stop you at baggage claim and say, "Are you Dani Johnson?" Mm-hmm. It just becomes normal to be on an airplane and to have 4 or 5 people come up to you on the airplane and say, "I've read your book. Your book's changed my life." It just becomes normal. But in that normal, I let my guard down. And the very thing that helped me to become successful, which was honoring everybody, the little people all around me. I was little people. They were little people. We're all little people. Yeah. Faithful with the little, ruler over much. When you change your strategy, when you've got much, you're in trouble. And I want to show you a story in here of a king who rose, who was used mightily, that something changed. Let's read. So I challenge you, what's your reputation? You see, all of us, when we first answer that question, most of us say, yeah, it's known that the Spirit of God is in me. Yeah, of course. Right? I certainly could say that, right? Gosh, man, I've been interviewed by all the most famous spiritual teachers. I taught at Hillsong. I've preached at Hillsong. I've preached in Benny Hinn's pulpit. I've preached in Morris Cirillo's pulpit. I've done crusades in India. I've taught in universities. Of course. Yeah. No. I visit the poor 2-3 times a year. I love on them. I love being with them. I love being dirty with them. Yeah. What about in the little call with a customer service rep or the TSA agent that wants to fill me up? What about with a waitress who's really screwing up and ain't getting it right? Let's read. Hi. I can see you and the book with these on. I'm going to skip the story because it repeats itself. So let's just go up to verse 19. It says, then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was stunned for a short time, and his thoughts alarmed him. The sovereign responded and said, Belteshazzar, do not let the dream or its interpretation alarm you. Belteshazzar answered and said, my master, the dream is to those who hate you, and its interpretation to your enemies. The The tree you saw, which became great and strong, whose height reached to the heavens and was visible to all the earth, whose leaves were lovely and its fruit plenty, and in it was food for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and on whose branches the birds of the heavens sat. It is you, O sovereign, for you have become great and strong, and your greatness has grown and has reached to the heavens, and your rulership to the end of the earth. And as the sovereign saw the watcher, even at the set apart one, coming down from the heavens, he said, hew down the tree and destroy it. But leave the stump of its roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and bronze and tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with dew of the heavens, and let his portion be the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O sovereign, and this is the decree of the Most High, which has come upon my master, the sovereign, that you are going to be driven away from men, and your dwelling be with the beasts of the fields, and you be given grass to eat like oxen, and you be wetted with the dew of the heavens, and 7 times pass over you, till you know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and that he gives it to whomever he wishes. What is so clear to see here is that God really cares that you know who he is, and that you know who has put you in your position. That you know that you're not the one who put yourself in your position. Yes, you did what you did, however, he's the one who promotes. He's the promoter of you. Every job promotion you've ever gotten, every business promotion you've ever gotten, every life promotion you've ever gotten, it's been him that promoted you. It hasn't been man that promoted you, and it hasn't been because of all that you did. You had a portion in it, you had your part in it, you had to do your part in it, but you did not do all of it. God is the one who exalts and puts where he wants people to be. So, verse 26, and they that gave the command to leave the stump and its roots of the tree, your reign remains yours from the time you come to now that the heavens are ruling. Therefore, O sovereign, let my counsel be acceptable to you, and break off the sins by righteousness, and your crookedness by showing favor to the poor, your prosperity might be extended. So here, this prophecy is showing that he's in trouble, right? You became great, and you have believed your own press. And you now think higher of yourself than you ought. And because you're thinking higher of yourself than you ought, you're doing some things that aren't cool. So now your reign is going to be taken from you for a season. Here's what happened next. At the end of the 12 months, he was walking about the palace of the reign of Babel. The sovereign spoke and said, is not this great Babel, which I myself have built? For the house of the reign by the might of my power, and for the esteem of my splendor? I built this company. I built this money. I built this position. I earned this place. This is what he's saying. This is all mine. And I did it on my own with nobody's help. The word was still in the sovereign's mouth when a voice from heaven fell. Sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the reign has been taken away from you, and you are driven away from men, and your dwelling is to be the beasts of the field. You are given grass to eat like oxen, and 7 seasons shall pass over you until you know that the Most High is ruler in the reign of men, and he gives to whom he wishes. In the hour that the word was executed on Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and he ate grass like oxen, and his body was wet with dew of the heavens, till his hair had grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. And at the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to the heavens, and my understanding returned back to me. And I blessed the Most High, and praised and made him great, who lives forever, whose rule is an everlasting rule, and his reign is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are of no account, and he does as he wishes with the hosts of the heavens and among the inhabitants of the earth. And there's no one to strike against his hand and say to him, what have you done? Up to verse 37, now I, Nebuchadnezzar, am praising and exalting and esteeming the sovereign of the heavens, for all his works are truth and his ways are right. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. So, how many of you have ever heard that story before? Most of you. Yada, 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 yada. Yada, 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 yada. I've heard that story before, Dani Johnson. Good. What I want you to do with this story is say, Lord, is that me? Am I Nebuchadnezzar? Is that me? Have I built all this? I've become successful? I want my name to be known? Is that me? Right away, I started to ask that question. I didn't like the answer, quite frankly. I started to write this down. What are the signs of pride? I want to read you some. Arrogant. Having or displaying a sense of overbearing self-worth or self-importance. I'm going to say that again. Having or displaying a sense of overbearing self-worth or self-importance. Marked by or arising from a feeling or assumption of one's superiority towards others. One who is arrogant is overbearingly proud and demands excessive power or consideration. Having or showing an exaggerated opinion of one's own importance, merit, and ability. Conceited, overbearingly proud. Making claims or pretensions to superior importance or rights. Having or showing feelings of unwarranted importance out of overbearing pride. Overly convinced of one's own superiority or importance. Signs of pride. Really, it's signs of arrogance. A sign of arrogance is someone that judges other people's wicked choices. That's a sign of arrogance. Someone who judges other people's failures. Someone who uses their position or platform to get their way. Who here has ever done that? You feel entitled to better treatment, and you're ticked off when you don't get it. Impatient with other people who don't do something right. This is called arrogance. You argue your position. This is called arrogance. You defend your position. This is called arrogance. Your way is better. Nobody is as smart as you. This is called arrogance. You don't care about anybody else's opinion. You don't even want to listen to them. You don't have the time to hear. This is called arrogance. Other people's dreams or vision or feelings don't matter. Only yours. This is the definition of arrogance. And being on the phone with a customer service rep or through email where they completely screwed up, and you decide to say, don't you know who you're talking to? Don't you realize that I have 1 million followers on all my social media pages? And I was testing your service out to see whether or not this was going to be a workable situation, because if it was and you guys handled this right, you could have had a whole lot of business coming from just one person. So you really screwed up with how you managed this account. Because now you'll be used as an example of how not to do business, instead of having a chance to get a whole lot of business from just one mouth to a lot of ears. You really screwed up. Now give me my refund. That is arrogant. And that was me 2 weeks ago. What I learned in this is I'm reading that story of Nebuchadnezzar and I'm seeing myself. Began to dig deep. And in that dig deep, nice little moment on the toilet with my journal. It's true. I'm bawling. How did this happen? How did I get here? How did all of a sudden I feel entitled to perfect strangers, treating me like my clients treat me, treating me like my husband treats me, with honor? How in the world did I ever get the place where I expect honor from people? That is disgusting. That is disgusting. You see, someone who demands respect and honor is straight up arrogant. Someone that demands to be treated right or fairly is straight up arrogant. Anyone who feels entitled is straight up arrogance. So what we see in his story is that Daniel gave him a warning. Yes, this is what's going to happen, but you might have a chance to save your own freckled butt. You have a chance of saving your butt. Two things. What do you say? Cover your sin with righteousness and take care of the poor. Two things. Two things. You might want to walk in the opposite direction of your sin, and you better start walking in righteousness. So then I start to ponder, what is righteousness? And friends, I have to tell you something. You see, arrogance shows up in lots of different ways. You know that self-pity is arrogant. Yeah. Self-pity is straight up arrogant. Being a victim is also arrogant. It is. It's setting yourself apart, that you are the only one with that problem and no one is ever going to help you. That's straight up arrogant. That is an entitlement that someone owes me something and someone should fix this and somebody needs to do something about this, so you better come and rescue me. Do you hear me? That is straight up arrogant. So arrogant works two ways. The pompous side and the self-pity side. The everything's always falling apart side. Because then, let me tell you what's active here. What is arrogance? It's just a lack of humility. That's all it is. Arrogance is an absence of humility. And as I've been gnawing on this for the last 2 weeks, I have to tell you something. Nothing else matters but humility. Nothing. Absolutely nothing matters but humility. Why? What does that look like? You see, it's arrogant not to forgive somebody. It's arrogant not to forgive. It's arrogant to walk in bitterness, resentment, and unforgiveness. It is arrogant to hate somebody. You have exalted yourself higher than that person, but you're just as sinful as that person. So it's arrogant to have animosity towards any other human being. It is arrogant to be self-righteous. It is arrogant to be rude when you don't get your own way. It is arrogant to push your title in people's faces. And it is arrogant to give your resume when you meet somebody. It is arrogant for any of us to want everyone to know how accomplished we are. And it is arrogant to try to gain respect from people because of what we've accomplished in life. That's straight up manipulation. And that comes with a curse. And it's what we saw here, or in that book over there, is that Nebuchadnezzar was walking in arrogance. He believed his own press. He began to forget how he got there. The only reason why he had that success is because it was time for Israel to have their nose in the corner. So God is the one who gave him the victory. God is the one that appointed Nebuchadnezzar to have that win. Do you hear me? He got that win because it was time for his children to get spanked for a little bit and be in timeout for 70 years. But he began to forget that, hold on a second, that was the hand of God that put me in this position. I don't deserve to be here. But as he started to look at his track record and all of the praise of all of the people, he lost sight of the fact that he was nothing but a man. Nothing but a man. Nothing but a man. So signs of arrogance, how many of you have some? This broke me. And it had me crying on my bed and simply saying, my God, forgive me. Everything I have is because of you. Everything I am is because of you. Who gives a rip what there is on Facebook? Who gives a rip the money? Who gives a rip even that I don't take a salary? Who cares? Because at the end of the day, if I have no humility, I'm a dead man. So what is humility? You see, most of the fights that happen between you and your spouse is because of arrogance. It's because of arrogance. You think you're right and she's wrong, or you think you're right and he's wrong. It's arrogance that has that fight going on. It's also arrogance that causes you not to want to listen to your kids. You're too busy. You got too much going on. You know what else is arrogant? Is that you can't stand being around your family because you call them 98%ers. And you have nothing in common with them. You want them to get a real life and have a real dream and do something besides talk about football. It is arrogance that has pitted sisters against sisters because one likes Hillary and the other one likes Trump. It is arrogance that has caused families to not love each other because they serve a different political position. It is arrogance that has caused a heterosexual to judge a homosexual. It is arrogance. And it's entitlement. And it is that position of I deserve because I was born. It is arrogance that says I deserve a raise. It is arrogance that causes fights with your coworkers, and it is arrogance that causes you not to follow your shot. Arrogance. I sent an email. Why didn't you answer? That's arrogance. So humility is the greatest strategy to win. Humility is the only way to win. And if you don't guard humility, you're going to lose. And you will lose it all. To only bring you back to the place of what? The same place that Nebuchadnezzar had to come back to, which is where? Where did he have to come back to? He lost it all. He started eating grass. He lost his kingdom. He lost his family. He lost his comfy bed. He lost the nice little thing that they were carrying him around in. He lost his wealth. He lost it all. And in the losing it all, he then came back to what? Humility. That's what he said, that God has the ability to humble the proud. It is arrogance that demands. But it's humility. God says that he tears down the proud and he lifts up the humble. He exalts the humble. He says, if you will humble yourself and pray. If you will humble yourself and pray, then I will hear from heaven and I will heal your land. And we expect for the healing, but we're still arrogant. We're still rude to the customer service people. We're still rude to the people that are driving slow. We're still rude to the TSA agent. We're still rude to our coworkers. And we're expecting, if I proclaim that promise, if I believe that promise, you're not being faithful with the little if you're not being humble. It is humility that brings the strength of Almighty God to act in your favor. It is humility. And as I was talking to one of our clients recently, and he was saying, Dani, you know, I have this construction company that I've never worked. I just had money. I bought it. I always appointed somebody else in it. And I don't know what to do. The guy I had hired decided not to come. There's nobody running it. So I figured I better step up and start to run it. He has an engineering firm. He has a bunch of other businesses as well. And he likes his engineering firm that he built from nothing, and now it's become easy to him, but now he's had to humble himself, and now he's facing subcontractors and other contractors and the customers who didn't get the job done right? They got a house that wasn't done right. The grout is a mess. He goes, Dani, I don't even know if the grout is right or wrong. What the hell is grout? So he's a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business, and now he's taking in this other business that is not a multi-million-dollar business, and he's stepping in as the owner of the business. He doesn't have a clue on how to run it. And my answer was this: Stuart, do you want me to show you how to win in this? I'm going to tell you what has won every time throughout my life. It's not trying to be the expert who has all the answers, but instead, say this: Sir, I'm so sorry that this is done wrong. It's terrible. And you can imagine that carpentry has been around since the beginning of time. And carpentry is done all over the world. And there are probably thousands of opinions about how it should be done. But none of those opinions matter. The only one that does is yours. Your opinion is the only one that matters. So why don't you teach me how you want to see your tile done? Rather than you stepping up to try to be the expert and try to pretend like you know what you're doing. Because you could be an expert, pretend like you know what you're doing, but the fact is that it might not be what the customer wants. Right. It might not be the opinion that they want. So let me tell you how to walk this out. Can I tell you what wastes a lot of time and frustrates a lot of people and really makes people mad? It's not taking ownership and walking in humility. So here's the CEO now taking ownership and saying, you tell me how you want it done, versus I need to act like the CEO who knows everything. That's arrogant. But the one who will say, your opinion is more valuable than the thousands of opinions out there about how grout is supposed to be done. So you tell me exactly how you want it done, and sir, we're gonna get it done. And please forgive us for missing the mark here. It's not about not making a mistake. You see, it is the fear of making mistakes is actually comes from a root of arrogance. Not being willing to try comes from a root of arrogance. Why are you afraid to fail? Tell me. Tell me. You don't want to look bad. You don't want to look bad. You don't want to be rejected, which means it's arrogance. So you're doing some other form of way to try to gain acceptance instead of humility. But it's humility that is attractive to people. It's transparency that is attractive to people. It's not trying to act like you got your crap together. It's actually showing that you don't, as I'm showing you right now. I've been teaching this stuff 27 years, and just 2 weeks ago. And I didn't even realize I did it while I was doing it. That's the sad part, because arrogance is blinding, and there's some of you who are completely blinded by it right this very second. And you don't even know it. How does this show up in your life? Real simple. Instead of humbling yourself and saying, I'm sorry, you say, well, no, that's not exactly what happened. And no, that's not what I meant. And you just didn't understand me. And you didn't speak the right language to me. You didn't explain it good enough to me. That's why I didn't see it. So you defend, give excuses, which just wastes time and escalates anger and makes people so mad and causes them not to trust. What's the little thing? Humility. That's the little thing. Arrogance and pride is the big thing. Humility is the core of your success. It's at the core. It's admitting that you're wrong. And when you screw up, you say, I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Please forgive me. I screwed that up. But how many of you have ever come to that place where it's time to say those words and you just won't say it? Where are you? And what is that? Arrogance. That this morning when you heard everything that you heard about being a team player and the question came out, what kind of a team player are you? I was talking about what a crappy team player I've been. I haven't been a team player in a really long time. I haven't. I've been able to just show up to the game and make my shots. That's it. I'm back in the game. I'm back in the game. I got to get good at being a team player again because I have sucked at it and I have failed my team because I have not been in the game. I've just been the hired gun to come in and make the shots. I've just been the hired gun that comes in like a contractor who doesn't get paid. What a great deal the company has, right? Everyone else gets bonus. I don't take anything. The hired gun. All right, we need to do this. Great, here she is. I'm not playing team. I'm just doing what I was sent here to do. I haven't been committed. Haven't. I am now, man. Last year, I had some fears about some of you screwing us over. People stabbing people in the back. I still had those little fears in the back of me, and guess what that was all about? Arrogance, arrogance, arrogance at the very core. Because you're afraid of losing, you're afraid of your reputation, if you're afraid of things not going right, that's all arrogance. You're afraid of looking bad. Guess what? When you look bad, you look good. It's the truth. When you look bad, people trust you. When you look bad, people will walk with you. Why? Because they know they suck too. They do, deep down inside. People are tired of playing games, especially today. They're tired of playing games. So was I doing this on purpose? No, but I'm telling you, man, that's why it's so important to ask him. When you're reading through that book, God, teach me what you want to teach me today. Well, yeah, honey, I want to point some out to you. You were a raging bitch to two people. And I had never done anything like that before. Do you understand? I didn't push my weight around in situations like that. But all of a sudden, I saw the opportunity and I went for it. Sick and wrong. Sick and wrong. So, I really sat down and just bawling over this, like, wow, this is sick. I realized nothing else matters but humility. Nothing. Because in humility, we will forgive freely. We will forgive everyone who screws us. We will forgive ourselves. Out of humility, we will lift other people up and not care whether or not we get the credit. In humility, we will not care if we lose money. Because it's in humility where trust is. It's in humility where peace is. Everything you and I want out of life is birthed out of humility. And everything we don't want out of life is birthed in arrogance. So think about it. What does humility produce? Think about it. If you didn't care about your reputation and you didn't care about losing, what do you have? Freedom. So humility births freedom. What else? Peace. Peace comes out of humility because you don't have to have the answers. Hope comes out of humility because you don't have to know everything. And even if people are coming to you all the time expecting you to be the leader that has all the expert that has all the answers, when you simply confess, man, I don't know a thing. But what's in your heart to do? What do you think you should do? This is your life. It's not my life. This is your life. What's in your heart to do? Go for it. So what comes out of humility is everything you want in life. Everything you want out of life is birthed out of humility. And everything you don't want out of life is birthed in arrogance. Trying to prove yourself, trying to prove your point, it's just arrogance. But out of humility, you'll forego yours. And you'll want to hear theirs. And in truly hearing theirs, that's when you can come together and do something great. So I challenge you tonight, friend. I want you to ask yourself the question, how am I doing in that humility category? Where am I at with this humility thing? Or am I rated pretty high with arrogance? Because again, it's in the little things. It's in the little things. It's in the little places. It's in those places that we will either be faithful or unfaithful. It's in the places where most people do not see. It's in the hidden places of your heart. And so rather than trying to figure out why you are the way you are, just humble yourself. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you are the way you are. It doesn't matter. All that matters is will you humble yourself. That's the only thing that matters. Will you stop pushing yourself up? And I'm not saying go push yourself down, because that's another form of arrogance. It is. It's arrogance flipped upside down. Hating yourself is arrogance. But if you could admit, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what to do all the time, and I certainly don't do the right thing all the time. Is there anyone here that can admit that? And when it is that you do screw up, you simply own it. Own it. If you own your screw-ups at work, and you own your screw-ups at home, you own your screw-ups to your kids, you own the screw-ups to your wife, to your husband, you own your screw-ups to your coworkers, it cleans the slate and hits the reset button instantly. It cleans it. But it requires humility. So 2 strategies to win in 2018. There's 2 tonight in the spiritual category. Number 1 is humility. I feel like I want to go make a jersey that has a big fat H on it. I'm serious. I feel like I want a jersey that has a big old H on it. And that's our play. And that's our strategy to win is humility. You see, the only reason why you won't pay off your debt is arrogance. It's true. It's true. The only reason why you buy the pink salt, the pink Himalayan salt that's $4 versus the 50-cent salt that is the big old giant container of 50-cent salt, is arrogance. It's straight up arrogance. The reason why you still walk in the stiff-necked ways, even though you know you shouldn't be getting Starbucks every day, is what? Arrogance. It's arrogance. When you humble yourself and you own it, I screwed up. I'm so sorry. I failed you. I failed you. And I was wrong. I'm going to do my best to make it right. This diffuses every conflict really fast. Humility is like the secret pill that changes the environment instantly. Arrogance also changes the environment. So, number 1 for tonight, an important strategy. You see, the arrogant will not be faithful with the little things. The arrogant will not be faithful with the little things. They will not believe that that's how you actually succeed. They're going to come up with their own way. They're going to go find some other trainer that's going to tell them exactly what they want to hear. They're going to end up spinning their wheels for the next 10 years. And now they're 70, or now they're 60, or now they're 50 years old. And they got less time to figure it out. The bottom line is, you got a choice. To take heed of a gentle messenger, or you will take heed of the experiential one, which is always the harsh one. So number 1, humility. Big old H, put it on your chest. Put the word everywhere, all around you. How you're going to handle the next conflict with the next person, guess what? There's going to be a conflict leaving this event. How are you going to handle it? Humility. If that's your knee-jerk reaction, friend, I'm telling you right now, you're going to diffuse things fast and get back to work. How many of you have ever stewed over crap before? Someone made you mad. You stew over it. Come on, obsessive thinking, stewing. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? Arrogance. That's stewing. If only they would see it. If only they would change. Why can't they do it right? Arrogance. That's arrogance. But if it was about humility and you following your shot and you taking personal responsibility for your part in it, can I tell you what I've watched my husband do over the last 4 years that has completely healed our marriage? He no longer reacts to the fog of feelings out of his wife. It never does. Well, I'm telling you, for 20 plus years, oh boy, did he ever. And think, oh my gosh, she is too hard. He wanted me not to be a woman. He wanted me to be a guy in all reality. You're too emotional. I'm a freaking woman. Unfortunately, this is the way the great designer made us. And he saw a purpose in it. But see, he had a hypochondriac mother who was emotional and all over the place. And he did not have a good relationship with her. In fact, there was a part of him that hated her. So when he married me, that transferred to me. And there was so much anger that was inside of him. And anytime there was ever any emotion, whether it was passionate discussion or anger or frustration, he would explode. And for the last 4 years, I've watched something so miraculous. I watched my husband walk in humility. And his humility has highlighted humility for me to look in the mirror at myself. Because of his leadership and how he's leading, I have no other choice because of the example that he's setting of humility. Amen. Yeah. So he stopped responding to my fog. And he would just sit and go, do you just need to bitch about something? Yes! Go for it, honey. Come on. Go ahead. Get it out. Do it. Go for it. Makes me laugh. Are you frustrated? Yeah. Talk about it. Come on, talk about it. Let me hear what you're frustrated about. Go ahead, let it rip. And it's over fast. He's become a safe place for me to be me. And I've become a safe place for him to be him. Because again, feelings are just a fog. They're there for a moment. And it's arrogance that tries to figure them out. That wants an answer. It's arrogance that wants an answer. And why do we want the answer? So we never do it again. That's such arrogance to think that you will never screw up again. Or that you want some formula so that you never screw up again. You're human, fool. You're going to keep screwing up for the rest of your freaking life. You need to wake up every morning like my friend David Chavez, who's here in the room, who says, I know every day I am going to mess up. First thing in the morning, I know what is on my agenda. I am going to mess up. But I have a strategy for my mess up. And my strategy is own it. Don't defend it. Don't hide it. Don't try to cover it up. Just say, I screwed that up. I am so sorry. I promise it was not my intention. It looks like it was, but I promise it wasn't. Please forgive me. How can I better fix that. I made a fool of myself. I was wrong. Can you do that? You do that, you live in freedom. What's in freedom is peace. What's in peace is joy. What's in joy is love and laughter. What's in all of this is confidence, real confidence, not fake confidence. You got nothing to prove to nobody, including yourself. Because many of us have spent a lot of time trying to prove something to ourselves.
If 2018 is the year you plan to win in money, business, and relationships, you need to be in Dallas, Texas, February 23rd, 24th, and 25th for First Steps to Success. Let Dani Johnson show you how to double your income, take control of your finances, and create rewarding relationships in every area of your life. Register today. Click the link in the video description. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.